Last night, at the time of this recorded, I checked out Wicked for Good with my wife, Emma. I've slept on it, and ultimately, as a collective thoughts overnight, I've decided this movie is a mess. Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by and checking out my movie review of Wicked for Good, which is going to contain spoilers. So if you've not seen the movie, maybe come back and check it out after you've seen it and see if you agree with me or not. If you frankly don't care or you have seen the movie, well, thank you for stopping by. I appreciate it. Feel free to subscribe if you're brand new, because I cover movies like this, brand new movies, older ones, vlogs, Back to the Future, and so much more. Quick backstory. A few years ago, I checked out The Wizard of Oz and I did a collaboration on my good friend Jacob Martin's channel. It was the first ever time I'd seen that movie and I enjoyed it. Now, fast forward to 2024, I checked out Wicked in cinemas and I really enjoyed the first movie. My wife also did, and that's what spurred us to go on to see the sequel. Now, I believe that this was shot back to back. I believe that it's apparently meant to be like 1 year difference between the two movies, of course, release date, but also story-wise. But in the musical on stage, it is around 3 to 5 years. So there lies issue number one. In Wicked for Good, they don't give you a context of how long time has passed. Now, I do think that this movie does do a disservice to brand newcomers like myself who have not seen the stage adaptation. If you have seen the stage adaptation, of course, in that stage show, this is definitely probably going to be more so a movie for you, because my wife, for example, had someone sat next to her who was crying through most of the movie and really enjoyed it. So, you know, it goes to show that there is going to be an audience for this, but will it be more suited and catered for the stage show viewers? Probably so, than actual newcomers. The second issue I have with Wicked for Good, and I know this isn't a standard movie review, there is positives, I will touch on them at the end, but I have to get out my glaring negatives first, is this movie is all over the place. It clocks in at like 2 hours and 10, 2 hours and 17 minutes, it's along that sort of runtime, but you do feel that they're trying to cram so much story in here, and so much of it feels rushed, but also some of it feels very nonsensical. So let me give you a perfect example. This whole concept is about Elphaba, played by Cynthia Erivo, who does really good, by the way, is wanting revenge on the wizard for how he treated her in Wicked, right? And how he's outcasted from the land of Oz, and everyone hates the Wicked Witch and they want to basically see her demise. So throughout the first act, going into, I'd say, maybe middle of second act, you see her, you know, she's angry, she's really frustrated, she wants to do what she can to help the animals, but also get her revenge on the wizard. And she's like, this is between the wizard and I, right? So there lies the, you know, the big circumstance and big, you know, confrontation we're going to see. When she gets into the path of the wizard, he bursts out into a musical number called Wonderful with Ariana Grande's Glinda. And all of a sudden, in that one musical, with all these angry feelings that she's felt, and the fact that he's like, oh, well, you know, come be with us, come be with me and Glinda, we can all be together. She forgets these angry feelings straight away, and she's like, okay, you got it. Just, you know, let the animals free and let the monkeys free, and we're fine. And that, you know, whole aspect of these two having a big face-off is eliminated immediately, and all the, you know, feelings that she's been harboring towards the wizard is just forgotten within a quick musical number song. It was absolutely weak. Absolutely pathetic. Skip forward to the end of the movie, we find out that Jeff Goldblum's The Wizard is actually the father of Elphaba. They could have used that earlier on as a revelation, and I would understand in that musical number, she would then be caught off guard, she's vulnerable, she's just had a big revelation revealed to her, given her more stakes and threshold in terms of letting her guard down and forgiving the wizard for a piece of turd that he actually is. But no, you get that right at the end. She never learns this at all. It's only he learns. He then has to leave the land of Oz, which is never explained as to where he actually goes. Does he just still stay in the land of Oz, but he just goes into a house? Does he go towards the beyond? We don't know. They don't give us these answers. The other issue you've got is also with Michelle Yeoh, who at one point wants to lure in Elphaba, wants to capture Elphaba, right? So her way of getting revenge is to kill Elphaba's sister. Now, the sister in this movie is an absolute stone cold bitch compared to the first movie where she is likable, you root for her, she's treated to an extent as a little bit of an outcast. However, she is still sort of accepted by her peers, right? So in that aspect, you have the fact where Michelle Yeoh's character concocts this like tornado cyclone storm and has a house falls on her and kills her, right? And then she gives the shoes to Dorothy, who, by the way, you never see the face of. They do have a few revelations as to who, Dorothy and characters are. I'll get into that. Anyway, so they have this house topple the sister, killing her immediately. Michelle Yeoh's actions is like this. Like, it's so stupid, it's laughable. It looks as if she's like practicing her normal martial arts, but she's actually making this cyclone storm, right? So she kills the sister, and at the end of the movie, when the wizard has to leave Oz, thanks to Glinda now being Glinda for good, and she's going to essentially rule Oz, the monkeys take Michelle Yeoh away. In doing that, she says to Michelle, right, you're going to stuff her in a cell. But hold on a minute. Michelle Yeoh's character has magical powers. Why would she not concoct some sort of spell on Glinda? Why would she not stop her from getting away with all of this, especially as Glinda doesn't have any powers herself? But yet she is happy just to kind of face the consequences of all of this. And that to me is kind of mind-bogglingly stupid. Now, when you focus on Dorothy and, you got the Tin Man, you got the Scarecrow and the Lion. Now, the Tin Man is revealed to be Bark, who is played by Slater. How somehow Elphaba's sister is able to cast a curse on him and essentially kill him. And she then turns him into a Tin Man because he's got no heart. Kind of weird. And the Scarecrow reveal, who turns out to be Jonathan Bailey's character, and he looked like Ryan Reynolds. The makeup and the hair, whatever choice they chose for the Scarecrow was flat out terrifying. Yeah, really, really bad. But also, this movie kind of does a disservice to the Wizard of Oz, because at the end when Dorothy throws the water onto the witch, which, by the way, again, you never see Dorothy's face. One moment she's locked in a basement, and all of a sudden she comes out with a bucket of water and throws it on the witch, which is kind of just random, being quite frank with you. It's very much thrown in, and it's very much relying on you to have seen the Wizard of Oz and just be like, yeah, that's cool, just accept that. Well, it turns out that the wicked witch is actually alive, and she is in love with, of course, Jonathan Bailey's character from the first movie. He's now a Scarecrow, and they're going to go and live beyond the land of Oz, so no one actually knows that she's alive. Not even Glinda, who is her best friend. I mean, it's not the fact that Glinda wouldn't be able to keep a secret, but surely, you could maybe let your friend know, right? Just as a courtesy. But, that's just something little tiny. However, the fact is, they don't really build upon what the future of these characters entail. Okay, so what happens to the Tin Man after all this? What happens to the Lion after all of this? It goes off the Wizard of Oz, but again, the Wicked Witch is still alive. So does that downplay the Wizard of Oz? For me, yes, because of course in the Wizard of Oz, she is dead. In this, she's alive, and I know it's a different adaptation and I know it's a different story, but essentially it is making the story of the Wizard of Oz and in that whole universe. So there is just massive glaring negatives. The music throughout Wicked for Good, Yeah, don't get me wrong, the vocal performances are fantastic by Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo especially, but of course they're two very talented singers, so of course the vocal performances is going to be great. I don't have an issue with that, but the songs just aren't memorable. Unlike Popular or unlike Defying Gravity, which gets you really hyped up at the end of the first movie and made me personally feel like, wow, I can't wait for part 2. What are they going to deliver? They're not memorable. They're not great, if I'm being quite frank. They're like Change for Good, I think, is the big song, and I really just didn't care for it at all. There is some awkward moments of green screen, and I appreciate, they have to use a lot of CG for the animals, and for most part, that actually looks pretty good, but there is some bad, kind of sped up, kind of post-production work on the effects, CG, special effects, and you can tell it is very, very noticeable, especially in a wedding scene between Ariana Grande and Jonathan Bailey. So those are just some big glaring negatives that I have with this movie. It definitely relies on you seeing The Wizard of Oz. It doesn't want to fill in any blanks. It doesn't want to create a new sort of adaptation of The Wizard of Oz, but actually give us a little bit more that contrast in this whole Wicked universe and be simply, right, this is the story, including the Wizard of Oz perspective. In fact, it kind of wants to retcon that, show the characters very briefly a lot of the time from the back, or through a silhouette, but not actually give you a story of an actual movie before interpreting that into live action, which you got to think, if you combine these two movies together, you're looking at about 4.5 hours towards 5 hours worth of storytelling, and I've heard the stage reduction is about 3 hours or slightly less, so you've got more chance to elaborate on the story, but Wicked for Good just doesn't want to do that. So despite all those negatives, the performances from Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo are good enough for what they're given. The characters aren't developed any more than what you get in the first movie, apart from maybe little smidgens of scenes here or there. Vocal performances are good. Visually, it is a treat and it's a beautiful movie to look at, but that is kind of about it. So my overall score, at a push being nice, probably 2.5 out of 5 at best. But what are your thoughts? Let me know down below in the comment section. Thank you guys for watching, and until the next time that I see you, I'll be seeing you later.